From Learfield on the Mustangs Sports Network, this is the Pony Express Show with head coach Rhett Lashley, presented by SMU Cox School of Business, your ally for life. Visit coxgrad.com to learn more. Now at Ozona Grill and Bar on Greenville Avenue, here is your host, Rich Phillips.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to another week of the Pony Express Show with Rhett Lashley. Happy to have a great crowd with us again here tonight at Ozona Grill and Bar. And thanks to those of you joining us on the SMU Mustangs Facebook page. We will have the head coach of the Mustangs coming up here shortly on the show. Also, wide receivers coach Rob Likens is going to join us. But our first guest we're going to have this week is SMU safety and grad student Jonathan McGill.
Yes,
How are you?
I'm good. Doing good. Happy to be here.
Good to have you here. What you working on in grad school?
So right now I'm finishing up my capstone, which was a 30-page paper over whatever topic I kind of wanted to choose. So I'm in the Masters of Liberal Studies, and so I'm focusing in organizational dynamics. And so I had focused my paper kind of talking about student athletes transitioning to the workforce and, you know, all those effects and everything like that.
Good, you had a bye week, huh, to work on a 30-page paper.
Yeah. So I knew I had to do it kind of heading into this season. So kind of in training camp, kind of picking away at it. So instead of trying to write 30 pages in a week, kind of, you know, chipping away at it month by month.
Did you get a chance to enjoy the bye week and do anything special?
I went to the state fair, so
that
was fun. Had the candied pork belly bites?
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. Went with my family. Had a chance to kind of just hang out with them and relax and reset.
Well, of course, this week SMU plays Saturday night, 7 o'clock Central Time at Stanford. Got to be an interesting week for you as a Stanford grad, correct?
Yes, sir. So it's going to be different. Get a chance to, you know, go into the away locker room for the first time in a long time. Get a chance to, you know, see guys I played with. I want to say they were freshmen, sophomores. Alec Manor was a freshman when I was, you know, up there, and their quarterback Ashton Daniels as well. So it's going to be fun. It's been exciting to watch them, you know, play and contribute pretty well. So it's going to be a full circle moment.
And for those of you who don't know, Jonathan played 32 games at Stanford from 2019 to 22. Started all 12 his junior season, and you got your bachelor's degree there, right?
Yes, sir. Got my undergraduate in communications.
And I know one guy that kind of inspired you to go there was somebody else from your high school, Solomon Thomas, who's a pretty good guy, I think, to inspire people. Went to Coppell High School ahead of you, and you got a good connection with him, obviously.
Yes, sir. So his mother was my middle school high jump coach. So I got a chance to know him. He always used to come back to the middle school and kind of hang out in his mom's, you know, teaching office. She was teaching history. And so when he would come, it would be like a celebrity would be on campus, like everybody's out of class looking at him. But he kind of helped me understand the blueprint of taking AP classes, taking the SAT multiple times, ACT multiple times. To put yourself in a position to kind of go to whatever university you wanted to, and ended up, you know, choosing Stanford. Thought it was the best move for myself at the time. Loved my time there. Got a chance to get my degree, and at that point wanted to move on and, you know, go somewhere else.
How high did you jump?
Middle school, I had zero technique, and she would laugh at me. We still laugh about it to this day. Like, I would just jump and then just scissor kick over it, and then whenever I couldn't scissor kick that one, I'd be out. So,
well, you've been back home playing now the last 2 years here at SMU. It's had to have been a great experience for you with friends and family getting to be close to you and see you come out and see you play in the games too.
100%. I've had, you know, former coaches from, you know, high school, middle school, pee-wee football coaches, all, you know, request tickets to games. My family's been able to get them tickets. So shout out to our tickets people that are all here, getting enough tickets to come to games and stuff. But I think the most impressive thing from this season is seeing how much support we have from the student body, seeing, you know, everybody in the community. Filling out the stadium is something when I was in high school wasn't a normal thing. I used to come up to games, and so seeing how much, you know, support we have now is really astonishing to see.
It's been outstanding, obviously. Hopefully we'll get to play there again someday at Ford Stadium. November 2nd,
It's been about 2 months.
Yeah, we'll finally be back there. 5-1 start to the first half of the season, 2-0 in the ACC, obviously with two great back-to-back wins over Florida State and Louisville. Are you guys exceeding your expectations at this point?
I wouldn't say so. I think coming into the season, we knew how talented we were as players. We knew our staff was, you know, phenomenal, and they're going to put us in positions to make plays and to win games. And so I think coming into the season, it might be a shocker to people that's, you know, outside the facility. But I think when you really are working with the guys each and every day, you know, there's not a game on our schedule that we felt like we couldn't win.
Now 21st in the AP poll this week, 23rd in the coaches poll. Does it mean anything to you guys?
Nah, not necessarily. The only poll that matters is the poll at the end of the season. So kind of just take it week by week.
You mentioned the great crowds, the great atmosphere we've had at home. Let's go back to that last home game, the Florida State game. I think you had the most impressive catch we've had on the season, haven't you? Your interception.
Me and Zay are beefing right now, seeing who, because he had a interception last game. He said he jumped higher than me, got the interception, and so me and him are beefing right now, seeing whose interception was better. But so it's a toss-up right now.
You had to go across way far though.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost looked like you were kind of hiding back there or baiting the quarterback in. Were you playing games back there with him?
A little bit. You try to show quarterback something and then do something else. And so ended up throwing me a ball that I could, lay out for and get an interception. And so made a great play. So now to the next game.
It's just kind of part of it for this defense. 15 takeaways as a group through these first 6 games. Does it become contagious at times?
I believe they come in bunches. I think you've seen games that we've had where, the ball bounces our way in the first quarter, and then it just seems like we just keep getting the ball and receiving the ball. So last year we did a really great job of sacking the quarterback.
Right.
In the offseason, we preached on getting takeaways and taking the ball away from offenses and really trying to make game-changing plays. And so Coach Simons tells us anytime we get an interception or scoop a fumble, never go out of bounds, try to score. As much as possible, and I think you've seen that from our defense with Tank and Ahmad Moses and Kobe, breaking 15 tackles to get to the end zone.
Yeah, 4 defensive touchdowns. Let's not forget Brandon Crossley.
B. Cross.
Yeah,
he high-stepped. Yeah, he high-stepped in the end zone.
But Ahmad was about the fastest run I've seen down the sideline, although you were right there with him.
Well, I'm trying.
And I thought the Kobe Wilson one, though, that's the most determined run.
100%.
And those defensive touchdowns, obviously club takeaway is always exciting. That's got to be getting everybody fired up, isn't it, on the sideline?
Yeah, it's the best, I put on my Instagram, it's the best, celebration takeaway that I think it is in the country. Popping a bottle on the sideline, confetti even ends up getting on the field, people from opposing teams are saying that's I'm not supposed to turn the ball over, but bro, that's a cool celebration. So just having a chance to really do something that announcers love, commentary loves, the crowd loves, and then the players love it as well.
At that safety spot, there's really 4 of you guys playing in there with you, Isaiah, Wacobia, Ahmad Moses, C.J. Sanders. Are you guys just all kind of interchangeable back there? That's
what we try to be. The best availability or their best ability is availability. And so, it's CJ who's a guy that can play, nickel at an extremely high level. Mm-hmm. You have Ahmad who can play free safety and nickel. You have me that can play both, high positions. Zay as well. And so I think the depth of the room is really based on our versatility. We have some younger guys in there that's, getting, more and more reps and more opportunities to end up playing in these next couple of weeks. But I think Coach Simons has preached since last season, just learn every position that you can because during the season it's going to end up helping us out.
You're one of the captains on this team. Have you found yourself having to try to maybe keep guys a little bit grounded here as the wins keep piling up?
I think when it gets to a point to where, we stress it all the time as a team, we have 26 seniors, I believe, on the team. And so when you have a team like that, it's not necessarily 6 captains, right? You have, around 20 to 25, 26 guys that have all played significant football for a long period of time. You have guys from Miami. You have got, I'm coming from Stanford. You have a lot of guys coming from different universities. Matt Hibner, who came from Michigan, they won a national championship last year. And so anytime those guys talk, you listen, right? And so I think we've all been on teams that's been successful midway through a season and ended up falling off kind of towards the end. And so I don't think that's necessarily the case with us of being satisfied 6 weeks in, halfway through the season. But we have a mature group on our hands. So I think being a leader on the team isn't necessarily just the 6 captains, but, really the 26 seniors that we have.
This Stanford offense that you're going to see on Saturday night, fairly balanced run pass, and a lot of that comes from their quarterback, Ashton Daniels, who's actually their leading rusher, too. What kind of different assignments are there to contain him on Saturday night?
Yeah, they'll give you every kind of, +1 quarterback run game that you can see, all types of, flavors of the week against Virginia Tech. They were running he didn't play, so they were running with Justin Lamson a little bit more. But against Clemson, they were getting a little bit speed option. They ran the speed option again with Notre Dame. So really just being sound in our rush lanes, especially when we rush the passer as well, because he, I think, hit Notre Dame the first drive for around 35, 40-yard scramble. And so being sound, always keeping eyes on them, not letting them scramble and extend plays, because that's when, explosives can happen and, someone's not keeping track of their man and now it's a touchdown. So really just being sound in our defense.
And then you mentioned Ellick Iomaner, who is their top receiver, 27 catches, had a 1,000-yard season last season. You know a little bit about him. Obviously, a very dangerous guy for you guys to get covered this week.
100%. He's, the focal point of their receiving game. And so, he has, 2 times the targets of any other receiver on third down on their team. So that's a, statistic to look at. Anytime it's a third down, they got to have it. That's the guy that they're looking for. And so being, in the back end, that's our job. That's our assignment to, try to shut him down as best as we can. So Ellick's a good player, but I think we have a great game plan as well.
All right, well, be sure you get to hit the right locker room.
Yeah,
week, right?
Yeah, there's only one tunnel, so I just got to keep walking past the home locker room because, I've been used to walking into it. So
follow the guys in the white jerseys.
100%.
So. All right. Hey, Jonathan, thanks for coming out tonight.
Yes, sir, appreciate it. Thank
Jonathan
you.
McGill, SMU safety, joining us here tonight on the Pony Express Show with Rhett Lashley. Reminder that we'll have our Ask the Coach segment later in the show. You can always submit questions during the week at SMUMustangs.com and hit the Ask the Coach button. You can also submit questions with our staff here at Ozona Grill and Bar. We're going to talk to SMU wide receivers coach Rob Likens coming up next. Welcome back here to the Pony Express Show with Rhett Lashley. I'm Rich Phillips. We're here at Ozona Grill and Bar on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock, so be sure you come out and join us for a show down the road. And thanks for those watching us here on the SMU Mustangs Facebook page. We'll have Coach Lashley up here momentarily, but right now, Associate Head Coach, Co-Offensive Coordinator, and Wide Receivers Coach Rob Likens. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. A lot of titles. I don't know if they mean anything. But I'm doing great. I want to give a shout-out to Hannah Cesario. She works in football operations. She's here every week. She's very loyal. I think it might be for the free food. I'm not sure. But I just wanted to give her a shout-out.
The free food is the only reason I come.
She's an Italian paisan.
Well, did you do anything fun for the bye week?
I watched the New York Yankees, which is my favorite baseball team, win, and they're 2-0, and I'm excited about it.
There you go.
Yep.
Well, this past week, second highest passing total of the season against Louisville. But the run game's working, too. And even as a receivers coach, you got to be happy as long as the ball is moving down the field, I would think.
Absolutely. And any receiver will tell you that if you can get the running game going, it makes our life so much easier because you're going to have to bring an extra safety down in the box, right? And so instead of going a two-shell, which they can umbrella defense your wide receivers and kind of can take receivers out of the game, when you have a running game and it's a deadly weapon, they have to put more guys in the box, and it just creates one-on-one matchups for us, which we love. It
all adds up to 13th in scoring at 40.8 per game, and winning. Winning is where it all matters, no matter how we get the ball down the field. And the ball keeps being spread around, too, to your wide receivers. Again, nobody having the huge numbers, wide receiver-wise. And sometimes I think, man, can all receivers sometimes, they're looking out for number one sometimes, right?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because, the last time we had a guy was Rasheed. And by the way, if you're listening, Rasheed, get better soon. I talked to him today, and he's doing really well, and he's happy he's on the road to recovery. But the number one thing I'm so impressed with the guys in my room, when I first got here or take any job, the number one thing that you do before you go anywhere is you got to get the room right, which is something that I talk about all the time. And what does that mean? I just start out telling them, man, it's in the Bible that there's no greater love than you lay down your life for your friends. And so we block for each other, we care for each other, and I get that part right before we move on to anything else. Because if you can get the room right, and your kids are unselfish and they play for each other and they root for each other, there isn't any of those tantrums on the sideline and just throw me the dang ball and all that stuff, and they actually cheer for each other. and they really care about each other, and I love that.
You've almost been a little shorthanded the last few weeks. Roderick Daniels Jr. getting stolen away by the running back group, and having to play there a bit more. Romello Brinson's been out with injury. A little bit more of a challenge. You guys have had to certainly take more reps the last couple of games.
Yes, they've had to step up. They've taken more reps, but they want that opportunity because it gives them more opportunities in the game, because that is one of the positive sides of it. When you don't have a lot of them, then they're gonna get more plays. So,
what kind of are there any adaptations you guys had to make with the quarterback change that came about a few weeks ago to Kevin as the full-time starter?
We practice both quarterbacks at the same time so much during the season. We really don't control any of that. We talk about, yes, quarterbacks do throw different balls, different types of passes. Some have a better touch on deep balls, some are better at intermediate, some are better at quick game. And I tell my guys, here's your job, dude. You're getting paid to come to school here. You're on scholarship. You're getting money. When the ball leaves the last little bit of finger off the quarterback's hands, I don't care if it's thrown up into the stands. You just go catch it. That's your job. So that's all you need to worry about. So we don't worry about who's throwing that thing.
We would be remiss if we didn't talk about the other quarterback, though, and what he did a week and a half ago. Preston Stone having to come in ice cold and nailed one right to Keyshawn for a touchdown.
I don't think I've ever seen that before. And I don't know if a lot of people know, he checked to that play. Like, that was beautiful. Like, he looked over and went, I think I'll throw a touchdown pass. So, he signaled over there to the receiver, and Keyshawn ran a really good route, and he put that ball perfectly right on the outside shoulder, right exactly where you're supposed to. And under that pressure in a big game coming in like that, that's really an amazing job.
Yeah, very impressive to see that when he did it last week.
Absolutely.
Jake Bailey, obviously one of the leaders of your group, a guy who's played a ton of football, not even just here, but also previously when he was at Rice. How vital is it to have a guy like him that helps you get that room right?
Yeah, he's our Jonathan McGill on offense. He's, I'm gonna miss him. You're making me get emotional, Rich. I'm going to miss this guy when
we got at least
he graduates.
6 more.
Gosh, I really wish I had a daughter his age so I could keep him around and keep him in the family. I love this guy. He's very conscientious, detail-oriented. He loves football. He loves SMU. He loves his teammates, and it shows with the passion that he plays with.
All of your prime guys are returnees to this year's team, which isn't necessarily the way of the world, of course, in college football.
That's right.
How vital was that for you when you got started even back in spring ball with this team?
Yes, and so those guys drive me crazy when they come in and they're young and you got to teach. I'm an extremely psychotic, detail-oriented guy, right?
I've never noticed that.
Yeah, so I can't stand it if it's not perfect. And when you first get there, everything's messed up, right? And so I told them today, man, you guys are going to kill me. I'm just going to fall over on the field one day, and it's going to be your fault. But no, I'm sorry, I forgot what we were talking about.
Just how vital it is to have so many returners.
Yeah. Well, you know what it does? What's so good about it is it helps Coach Lashley. Because Coach Lashley is, I'm telling you guys, I'm not saying this just because he's here, but not only is he a great head coach, and I can go on and on about that. I've worked for so many head coaches that all had these great pieces of being a great head coach, and I really do believe this. Rhett Lashley has it all. Like, he's got all of those pieces of all of the coaches that I've worked, and he in one encompasses all of it, and he's a star. I really do believe that as a head coach, but he's also an extremely intelligent offensive coordinator as far as putting things together. However, you can only put so many things together according to your players, how smart they are, how much they care, how detail-oriented they are, right? And experience plays a big part in that. So the more experience you have, it allows him to be more creative and do his thing, which he does a really good job.
Who are some of the other guys maybe that we don't see every week right now, but the younger guys that you've got growing and maturing and going to be ready down the road for you?
Yeah, I'm very excited about Randy Reese. And he was a guy that came in and he had to sit out his freshman fall, and so he came in December because he went through a knee surgery, went through a shoulder surgery, and I was really high on him coming out of high school, and then so then he got hurt. But he's on scout team right now. But I looked at him the other day. He's in the weight room, and I'm talking. He's killing it. His legs are huge. He's gaining weight. He's explosive. He's fast. And as the kids use the phrase, he's a dog. Okay, we all know what that is, right?
Yes.
But he is one, which means when that ball's in the air, he's not afraid of anything. He loves football, grinds it out, loves to practice, all of that stuff. So I'm very excited about him in the future.
This team's won 6 straight on the road. What's been the secret?
I think it's the culture Coach Lashley has built here where, we love each other. And we spend a lot of time around each other, and when we get in a hostile environment, it really almost brings you closer together because, shared adversity creates bonds with people. And it's almost like, okay, let's lock arms. This is even better being on the road, us against the world, the way we kind of look at it. That's kind of like our mantra. And so I think that's what it is.
You started working with Coach Lashley at Miami when he was offensive coordinator there. You've been well-traveled, I know, throughout your career. What was the connection that got you there to him with Miami?
That was his nice way of saying I'm old.
Hey, I got no room to talk, so it's cool. It's good.
So I was so I'll tell you the story. Yeah, I was at Arizona State. I was the offensive coordinator there for Herm Edwards in 2019. And after the season, I coached Jaden Daniels to 17 touchdowns and like 1 interception and got fired. So, and he only just won the Heisman. But anyhow, besides all of
Besides
that,
don't worry about that.
Besides all of that, I got let go, and I got a phone call from a friend, Sonny Dykes, who was the head coach here at the time. Coach Lashley was the offensive coordinator, and he said, "Dude, why don't you come on down and spend the night at my house?" And I came out, spend the night, because I had worked with Sonny at Cal and Louisiana Tech.
Right.
And so I get here, and that's where I met Rhett. They were preparing for the bowl game, and just kind of hit it off and really enjoyed listening to him get the game plan together and all that stuff. And then I left, went back home, and it wasn't, I bet, a week, maybe less than that. I was at a drugstore, and I heard he had got the offensive coordinator job at Miami, and I was like, "Hey, man, congratulations. Do you need a wide receiver coach?" And he texted me back, "Really?" And next thing I know, I'm on an airplane down to Miami. Let's go.
It was a good text you sent, huh?
It was. I think I said something like the spread offense at Miami. Like, who doesn't want to be a part of that?
Very good. Very good. Well, it's a very small fraternity, very close fraternity.
It really is.
In the coaching world. It's amazing how it is.
It really is. It really is.
All right, this Stanford secondary group we've got to see this week, very veteran group. What's the challenge that you guys face against them?
They're big, man. Like their corners are like 6'2", 200. Like you don't see guys like that very often. So that means they got really long arms. And one thing that they do is they're going to press coverage us, and they're not afraid to do it. They press everybody. They have had some injuries, so I kind of really don't know who's all playing because they played a lot of guys over the last couple weeks. So we'll see when we get there. But they got, number 4, big dude. And so those guys present challenges, press coverage. You got to really be detail-oriented. You got to be quick at the line of scrimmage. You got to have a pre-snap plan of how you're going to get your release and all of that stuff according to what route you have. So it is going to be a major challenge against those guys, too. Blocking them is going to be tough because they're so big.
Well, I know you'll have your guys fired up because you get everybody fired up, don't you?
Well, I try to.
That's part of your job, right?
Yeah, that's part of my job.
Awesome. Well, hey, Rob, thanks for coming by tonight.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate
Rich.
it.
That was a lot of fun.
Rob Likens, SMU wide receivers coach, joining us here tonight on the Pony Express Show with Rhett Lashley. We'll have the head coach of the Mustangs coming up next. Welcome back here to the Pony Express Show with Rhett Lashley. I'm Rich Phillips. We're Wednesday nights, 7 o'clock at Ozona Grill and Bar. Reminder, the Boulevard is back in November when we're finally back home. Simplify your tailgate planning and upgrade your game day at the biggest SMU games this season. Full-service tailgates are selling fast. Contact Revel XP at 214-935-1683. This week, the Mustangs play Saturday night, 7 o'clock at Stanford. It's on the ACC network television-wise. I'll have the radio call on 96.7 and 1310 The Ticket. It's also on the SMU Mustangs app and Sirius XM Channel 193. So find us somewhere there and maybe sync us up with the TV broadcast on the ACC network. And joining us now, it is the head coach of the 501 SMU Mustangs, Rhett Lashley. How are you?
I'm doing great. Man, how awesome is Jonathan McGill?
Yes.
Right? I mean, just, a local kid who came back home after getting his degree at Stanford and, I've said it before, thought his leadership, on top of the fact that he makes a lot of plays like the interception you talked about, but his leadership last year really helped us start to establish that defensive culture that Coach Simons and that staff has built on that side of the ball. And then Rob Likens, he's a lot of fun, right? And, it's kind of cool hearing him tell that story, to be a head coach. You got to have people around you that you really, really trust, like genuinely trust. And in our business, there's plenty of people like that. There's plenty of people that aren't. Mm-hmm. I'm fortunate to have a staff full of coaches and off-the-field support staff that you can trust. But to be now 5 years with Rob, it's funny he told that story when we did start working together at Miami. We'd only known each other like a month or so or two and a little bit through text and all that. And then, but, man, just to see – not only someone who's been a coordinator and like he said, coached for a minute. He's been around, like you said. But
I didn't say that.
Well, you said it, teed him up, he admitted it. But, just the wisdom and having your back that you get from someone like that over 5 years is invaluable, not to mention the assist and all the things we do offensively. He deserves a ton of credit for the success we've had over the last 5 years. And then the best part about him is he loves and cares about his players. Mm-hmm. At a high level, he cares about, not only them becoming the best players they can be, but changing their lives. And so it's special to have someone like him on the staff that just helps us be the best we can be. And then, it's a little long-winded to your opener, but he mentioned Hannah. We got a couple other ladies here that are here to help us. We got Kendall Lambert. She's our director of recruiting, just had a birthday recently. And then Bailey Bennett's our recruiting GA. So we got three ladies over there that, you know how it is. I mean, they got to keep all of us men somewhat in line. We'll mess things up in a heartbeat. And then
you have a special guest here.
I do. I got my girl Rowan. Look at her sweatshirt. It's an awesome shirt. I haven't seen it till today, but it is awesome. And so she's going to help me tonight.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, I should mention that Rhett Lashley is also on the Coach Bear Bryant Coach of the Year watch list as of this week. You were a finalist for that last year too, right?
Our team was, and someone had to go represent them.
Okay.
And that's the same deal this year. Our guys have played so well in the first half of the season that it's a team award, and I guess they got to, instead of saying SMU, they got to put someone's name with it, so I'll represent them. But
there you go.
It's only the first half of the season, so we got a lot of work to do in the second half. But pretty cool that our guys have played at that level.
Well, the last couple of weeks we've come in here and done the show and been real excited after a big win over the rival, real excited after a big win to start ACC play. I think going on the road and winning an ACC game against a top 25 team might have topped both of those, though, didn't it?
It was a big deal. It was a big deal to, go on the road and get a conference road win. Anytime you get a conference road win in whatever conference you're in, it's a big deal. Because, to build a program, you got to start with defending the home, which over the last several years we've won at home a lot. And that's great. But to win conferences, to win championships, to compete for championships, you have to travel and win. And to be able to win on the road is a big deal. And then to do it at a ranked school that in our league is one of the better environments. They're talking about their game with Miami this week and what a challenge that is for them. I think it was special, and I think our guys, sometimes how you win is really important. We played really, really well majority of the game, even when the game got tied and got tight and their crowd really got into it. Our guys showed a lot of composure with how they finished that game.
34-27 was the final a week and a half ago now at Louisville. And now SMU is the first team to go from a group of five to a Power 5, or in this case, Power 4 conference, and start 2-0. I mean, there were 4 of them that did it last year, the Big 12.
Yeah.
They combined to go 1-7, and one of them beat one of the other. BYU beat Cincinnati out of
Yeah.
that group. That's a pretty good feat there because it's not something that's done.
Yeah, no, I mean, history tells you that's rare. And, like I said at the beginning of the year, we felt like we had a team that could compete, and we'd learn a lot about ourselves and just go play. And our guys, you heard Jonathan up here. You could hear he's got good coach speak in him, but he's not told to do that. Like, I didn't coach him up or anything. That's just the maturity he has, and I think that helps our team do what's really hard in college football, and it's to be present and go week to week to week and not get too far ahead of yourself or stuck in the past. And our guys have done that. And, like he said, I mean, they didn't think they weren't supposed to do it.
Well, let's talk about your quarterback. Kevin Jennings, 21 of 27, 281 yards. That ties for the 6th best completion percentage in a game in SMU history. Oh, and he ran for 113 yards and had kind of a big game-breaking 59-yard touchdown run, a total 394 yards of offense for KJ.
Yeah, he just keeps getting better and better, and he played really well when we needed him to on the road. Thought he started fast the first play of the game, hit Roderick Daniels on an explosive play that just kind of got us going. And he'll tell you he missed 2 deep balls to Jordan, or he'd have thrown for 400, but just the poise he has, obviously the ability he can extend plays, the touchdown run. I thought there was a couple really big plays. I mean, we ran a flea flicker, and he ends up scrambling and throwing it back to Junior, who handed him the flea flicker.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before, unless it was a called screen, which some people do. Early in the first half, there's a big 2nd and 17. He scrambles at Keyshawn, gets us to the 3rd and 2, which then he runs a 60-yard touchdown. But the biggest one was that last drive. We're going. We get a first down. Okay, it's 3rd and 6. He drops back and scrambles for a first down. Like, those are the plays that you got to make to be a big-time quarterback on the road and win, and he did that.
Yeah, that 3rd and 6 is at the plus 38. And, I mean, it looked like a sack to me.
Yes.
That sack was coming.
Yep.
And not only did he avoid it, he ran out of there, got the first down. And then another guy here, L.J. Johnson carried the ball 2 times in that game. And they might have been the 2 biggest carries of the day.
Big.
The game-winning touchdown. And then on the last possession, after the Wachovia interception, you guys are trying to get them to burn all the timeouts. 2nd and 5, he goes for 11.
Huge.
That forced him to burn them all.
Huge. He obviously we had missed him in short yardage situations the week before against Florida State. LJ's a really good downhill runner, and it just seems like last year and even this year, right when he starts to get going, an injury will happen. He was running well against TCU. I think he was averaging 7 yards a carry on 5 or 6 carries and got hurt. Didn't play against Florida State really, and then to get him to come in late to close. But then to your point, we're really not wanting to give them the ball back.
Sure.
And we did have a couple good perimeter runs, but that was a big one on, I think, 2nd and 5, and he gets close to 10. So we're excited to have him back full speed.
The one he finished off with what proved to be the game-winning touchdown, that was an 11-play, 89-yard drive that your offense engineered. And that's from, you gave up a lead and ended up at 27 all, and it's a critical point. Can that be kind of a defining moment for your team?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something they can hang their hat on. And, we said going into the year, we're going to have to find a way to win close games in conference play. A lot of games, doesn't matter who you're playing, home or away, are going to come down to the fourth quarter. Our first conference game didn't. That's unexpected, although it was still a 12-point game going into the fourth quarter. So I think to do that's big. On the road, we played really well offensive in the first half. I think we punted one time, but for the most part we played really well. Came out in the second half, moved the ball well, and then we stalled out and kicked a field goal and missed a field goal. And then our defense gets a stop in the fourth quarter, and we go 3 and out. So, we had kind of sputtered a little bit in that third quarter. So to get the ball back when it mattered most and to go on a 89-yard touchdown drive, that's a big deal.
Club takeaway waited till money time to deliver, but what a big moment that was. Isaiah Wachovia with what was almost the game-sealing interception, and it just kind of mattered, of course, for these guys.
Doesn't matter when the club opens as long as it opens. And, again, our formula was on display, and it was really good to win a game where we didn't force 3+ turnovers. We didn't score on defense or special teams. We played good, solid ball in all 3 phases. We didn't have any issues on teams that were critical that hurt us. We didn't turn the ball over on offense. We got the one late that mattered. We just played really solid, good team ball on the road. But, yeah, it was big. The sack on first down was huge. I think they were first down. It's 12 or 13. it's looking likely like they're going to have a chance of scoring. Corey gets the big sack. And now when you get to 2nd and 18 at the 20, that allowed Coach Simons to really sit back in coverage and allow our pass rush to take over.
They ended up with 3 sacks on the day. I really thought the pressure early in the game, it looked like their offensive line was controlling things. They really ramped up throughout the afternoon.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if you've seen the stats, like Elijah Roberts has got 2 sacks on the year or something like that. But he's one of the top 5 in the country in quarterback pressures. And Isaiah Smith and Jafari Harvey and all those guys, Jared Harrison Hunt, they're getting pressure, and it accumulates over 4 quarters. A lot of times it's what leads to those tips and overthrows, interceptions. But I think we just kept hitting them, kept pressuring them, kept rushing them. And like you said, the ones we got were critical when we needed it.
I talked about it with Rob. We can't overlook what Preston Stone did for you on that game. I mean, one play, one snap, and that's a money throw from him.
It is. And, I mean, couldn't be more proud of both him and Kevin, how they've handled this season from the way it started to the way it is now. Preston Stone's a winner. He loves SMU. He's going to be graduating in December. He's given so much to this university. And for him to have handled the last few weeks the way he has is why our team has had success. And so then you get in a situation like that where Kevin gets the wind knocked out of him. By rule, he has to come out of play unless you burn a timeout. And, a lot of times as a coach in the first half, you just burn the timeout, ball's 1st and goal to 5. Hey, let's burn the timeout and get our quarterback back in. Like, who wouldn't do that? I never even thought about that because we got Preston Stone right here. Like, okay, what we're going to call, let's call it. And, because we got backed up on the false start, we called a play that was a RPO, and then he checked the play. And it was a really cool moment, and it was really cool to see him and Kevin celebrate, to see our team celebrate him.
Gutsy by him to check into that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how he is. He's not scared to do anything.
Let's talk about your kicker. 2 more field goals for Colin Rogers, including a career-long 55-yarder, and with that one, he became the all-time leading scorer in SMU history. And he only passed guys named Doak Walker, Eric Dickerson, and guy you coach, Xavier Jones on that list.
Pretty good list.
Pretty good.
And he's done it in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
That was a big kick. I believe that's the one right before half that got us the 2-score lead. And we had just gotten close to being in range. And, we kind of – our 2nd and 3rd down calls didn't go where we wanted, and it was right at the edge of his range. And wind wasn't a major factor. And so a lot of times you just, we knew he could kick it from that far, but you kind of – Coach Cooper and Coach Horny will judge in pregame how he's kicking it. He'd been kicking it well, so I'm like, hey, can he make it from here? They're like, yeah, he can make it from here. I'm like, okay. And then I think they called a timeout and tried to ice him. And, I mean, that thing would have been good from 65.
Oh, yeah.
It was deep, and so, now he's at a new standard, so we'll kick it from midfield next time if we need to, right?
Well, he does. In SMU history, there have been 26 field goals made of 50-plus.
Really?
26. He has more than a quarter of them. He has 7.
Okay.
And that breaks the old record by a lot. 4. Thomas Morstead had that.
That's a pretty good name.
It is.
Yeah.
He was good at both punting and kicking and still punts.
There he is.
His 550-plus this year breaks Morstead's old record of 3 in one season. So what's his limit?
Sounds like we need to get closer as an offense. When wind's not a factor, you go in 35-yard line's kind of the 50-yard-ish range. Like if the ball's on the 35, it's a 52-yard field goal.
Right.
You expect a really good college kicker to be able to make, 7 out of 10 from there, okay? And so we always kind of feel like unless there's a major one in our face, like if you're in a 2-minute drill as an offense and you need a field goal, we tell the quarterback, say 35 and in, we're in range. That's just a general rule. We know as a staff going into the game, if wind's not a factor, 40-yard line, he could make it. Like if it was 2 seconds left to win the game, if the ball's on the 40, we would go out and kick it.
57, 58, yeah.
And so we were at the 38 the other day. And so, it was a max range, but right before half, chance to get some momentum, get a 2-score lead. Usually as a coach, the only thing you worry about is those balls have to be kicked lower, and a block kick could be a problem and go the other way. But, you saw his range. I mean, again, it cleared enough. If wind's not a factor or if wind's behind him, 40, 45-yard line, if the ball's sitting there, if we really needed it. I mean, you're not going to make a living doing that, but if he hits it right, he's got a chance.
He told me he's got 60.
Yeah. Based on that kick, he's right.
Yeah. Got to be into half, though, right? In the game. You don't do that in the middle, do you?
I mean, it just depends on if we need it and if he's been kicking it good. And, I mean, yes, more times than not, we're probably going to go for it or punt there and play field position. But, yeah.
It's good to get to think about it, though.
It's good to know he can.
Absolutely.
You look in the NFL and guys are kicking it 70 now, so.
Midfield, you're in field goal range in the NFL these days.
It's a lot of pressure on the defense. I mean, and it's still, even with Colin, like a defense knows, once we're inside the 40, we're in score range.
Right.
That matters.
This is the Pony Express Show with Rhett Lashley. We're here Wednesday nights, 7 o'clock at Ozona Grill and Bar. Again, this week, SMU is at Stanford, 7 o'clock Central Time kick on the ACC Network and on 96.7 and 1310 The Ticket. Also at 5 o'clock right here on the SMU Mustangs Facebook page is our Pony Up pregame show, as we'll get you ready a couple hours before kick, so be sure and join us for that. It is time for our Ask the Coach segment, brought to you by our show sponsor, the SMU Cox School of Business. Preview the SMU Cox School of Business MBA and Specialized Master's programs at our Fall Preview Day on October 26th. Learn more about our top-rated programs, hear from current students, and tour the campus and our new facilities in the David B. Miller Business Quadrangle. Register at smu.edu/Cox/Pony Express.
Kevin Knox in the house as always.
Yes.
Appreciate you. Cox School of Business.
First up here on the Ask the Coach segment, what does a coaching staff actually do during the 20 minutes of halftime? You have a checklist that you go through?
There's two things I do not like about football: pregame and halftime. I just don't. I do not like pregame. I wish it was like old school high school where you get on your bus, you show up, you walk off, your pants are already on, your pads are on, you throw them on, stretch for 10 minutes, and let's go.
What do you do pregame even?
Depends, home or away, I mean, just try to suffer through it. I mean, you got to get there like 2 hours before the game. Because guys got to get taped, and they got to go out, and they got to run around with their headphones on, and they got to catch balls, and our kickers got to kick balls. And then we got to go out, and we got to go through all this, organized calisthenics to then go in 30 minutes before and get stiff all over again. So, and if it's too hot, you don't want your team to get worn out. If it's too cold, nobody wants to be out there. Like, what are we doing? But then the band has to play, and then all the pregame, and then all the – you know what I mean?
Well, and
we're just wanting to go play the game. Sorry, I mean, I'm just being honest.
I'm doing a lot upstairs, so I don't even know. Are you out during pregame?
I am.
I know
I
some
have
coaches,
to go out.
Some
Yeah.
coaches
I go out when the
spend.
quarterbacks go out.
Okay, all right.
I guess I don't have to go out.
Guess
We
not.
can let Rob handle it. Rob would love to do that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But
I don't know if the
I don't
quarterbacks
do anything in pregame. I'm out there. If it's a home game, I'm talking to recruits. If it's an away game, I'm just kind of hanging out. But halftime was your question.
Yes.
Sorry. Who asked the halftime question?
Hunter right
We're
there.
going to have to talk about that shirt, but that's not a big deal. So
He's got the hat right.
yeah, nobody's perfect. It could be worse. My father-in-law did go to school there, so we'll give you a pass. So halftime do go fast in the NFL and college. They're even – I think they're 12 or 15 minutes in the NFL.
12 in the NFL, yeah.
20, but by the time you get in, and sometimes you got to talk to a reporter on the way in and, yada, yada, yada. So we come in instantly as an offense and a defense, and the coaches kind of meet for what they do, what have we prepared for in a 2-minute scenario or a 4-minute, which is when you're bleeding the clock. And they drew up a play, the flip play to Jordan Hudson and to Keyshawn Smith. Mm-hmm. We've never practiced. But we'd seen how they were playing throughout the game, so they coached it up on the sidelines, Rob and Guerin and Casey and Coop and those guys, and got to where they went out and executed it, and those two plays won us the game or closed the game out. So you hope you can do a lot of it in the drive or in game to where when you get to halftime, you're making any major adjustments. And that's what good coaches do, and that's what these iPads have helped us do a little bit.
My halftime's much better than that.
I know.
Studio handles it all, so.
Probably go get a burger or drink. And,
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Sometimes I need a drink at halftime. Just depends on the game.
Next up here on Ask the Coach, if Stanford runs a ball control offense, which they do, does that influence your play calling?
Yes and no. I mean, there's a fine line. You can't go into the game pressing. It's similar when we played Navy. Like, you can't go into the game trying to make every play a touchdown. You got to go play your game, and just understand, yes, on a normal game you get 12 possessions. They're all valuable. Against Stanford lately, people are getting like 8, 9, maybe 10. We don't overharp on it with our guys. Just as a staff, we know, hey, let's just go play our game. But if they're successful doing that, then in game you may manage it differently. Like first quarter, probably not a whole lot different. Second quarter, probably not a whole lot different. But now as you go and closing into halftime, if you're ahead versus behind versus tight, like it may affect, do you go for it on fourth down more, this or that? I mean, it's just how the game unfolds.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's, if you average 6 possessions a half, I mean, they played some teams this year who've gotten 3 or 4 possessions a half. That's a big deal.
Next up, if you could schedule a home and home with any team, who would it be and why?
Liberty.
Liberty?
Yeah, why not?
I know why.
We would have played them last year, but oh well. No, I don't know. We'll play anybody. We're going to be playing anybody a lot over the next 4 or 5 years.
No
Some
doubt.
things that haven't been released, it's going to be awesome. And so, I think in our state, you look at a lot of our Southwest Conference rivals, whether it be Texas and Texas A&M, those make sense. We haven't played Texas Tech in a minute. We got Baylor coming up. I think Houston's always a good rivalry game that we've kind of lost in the conference realignment that if we could ever get it back, I think makes a lot of sense for both of us. But I'm pretty excited the league we're in. We're playing some pretty cool teams week in, week out.
No doubt about that. How do you coach aggressiveness and celebration that just falls short of unsportsmanlike conduct?
Okay. Yeah. Well, one thing we do, we just tell our guys to play with an edge. And the way we define an edge for them is whether it's being physical and hitting a guy late, or celebrating, is when you play with an edge, that's extreme physicality and confidence that goes right up to the point that it hurts the team. The moment it hurts the team, you've gone too far. And so whether it's a late hit, whether it's a roughing the passer, whether it's an unsportsmanlike conduct, et cetera. Now, the celebration deal, I don't know how to coach it because we've never gotten a memo from the officials in the NCAA saying you can now celebrate, but yet you can now celebrate.
Right.
And each week, guys can celebrate more and more, and they're pretty lenient as long as it's nothing an obscene gesture and you're not shaming the other opponent, And so we coach our guys, celebrate with your teammates. Celebrate with your teammates. Linemen are usually running down there. If you scored, find a lineman. If a receiver and a quarterback do a little dance or whatever, like usually if they're doing it with their teammate and not in someone else's face, they're not going to do anything. But as a coach, I would love for him to say, hey, it's the NFL. You can celebrate or not. Because, I guess a guy could throw a flag, but that's what we do. Celebrate with each other because it's a team sport. Usually somebody helps you get to the end zone.
It's fun, too. Scoring's fun. Turnovers are fun.
Scoring's fun, and there has to be energy in the game and passion. When our defense makes a sack, they need to get up and do whatever they do, And when we get a pick or we score, they need to do those things within reason.
Right.
And so far our guys have done a good job of that.
This is the Pony Express Show with Rhett Lashley, Wednesday night, 7 o'clock here at Ozona Grill and Bar. We've got back-to-back 7 o'clock games on the road. Next week was just announced the other day at Duke. Will be a 7 o'clock start for that one. This week, it's 7 o'clock at Stanford. It's on the ACC Network. I have it on 96.7 and 1310, the ticket radio-wise. And it is time now to meet the enemy, brought to you by Ozona Grill and Bar on Greenville Avenue, with the best patio in town and happy hour from 4 to 7 every Sunday through Friday. Specials including free chips and salsa. Ozona Grill and Bar. Find your comfort zone. Stanford is who we'll be seeing this week. They're 2-4. They've lost their last 3. Notre Dame was who they had last week. They got off to a good start. They're new in the conference, obviously, just like we are. Got off to a great start, I thought, with that season opening win or conference opening win at Syracuse.
Yeah, you talk about winning on the road. They went on the road and won as far across the country as they can go against a team that's 5-1 right now. Look, Troy does a great job. He's a really good coach. They play the game the right way. They lost to Virginia Tech. Their quarterback didn't play. That's always tough. And their other quarterback was out, so I think they were playing with their third option. Got the quarterback back last week. Notre Dame's a tough task. They're number 11, I think, right now for a reason. They went to Clemson. It was a 13-point game basically at the end of the third quarter on the road at the hardest environment in our league to play other than Ford Stadium. So, they're a challenge, and they've struggled the last 3 weeks. There's no getting around that, but they're good coaches and they got good players for a reason.
The quarterback, Ashton Daniels, definitely a challenge. He's thrown for over 700 yards, 5 touchdowns, leads the team with 292 rushing yards. Probably the best running quarterback we've seen. The Nevada quarterback ran pretty well, but he's got a pretty good combination.
No, this is the best running quarterback we'll have seen this year, and that's stressful for a defense. You ask any defensive coordinator. That's something Kevin's brought to our offense a little bit. When a quarterback can extend plays and make plays with his feet, it scares the defense because they can be right and still be wrong, and then the way they're using them, they run a lot of designed quarterback runs like Nevada did at times. And so you heard Jonathan McGill say +1 runs. That just means because the quarterback's now running the ball, they actually have an extra player in the run game on their side. Mm-hmm. But that's a challenge because it's one thing if a team maybe has been struggling a little bit and their quarterback can't move, but when he can move, kind of all bets are off. You
Yeah.
know, he could get hot for a game and play really well, and it's going to be tough to stop him.
Yeah, and it's not just extending plays. I mean, they're running quarterback power out there sometimes.
He's tough.
too.
He's physical. He's got a big-time wideout that he looks to
Yeah.
a lot. But then, yes, you can still get him, and then he can extend those plays.
Yeah, they're young on offense, too. They got 2 freshman
Yep.
running backs they've been working, Chris Davis, Micah Ford. And then 86% of their receiving yards are from freshmen or sophomores, including Alec Iamonder, as we talked about earlier, who leads them with 27 catches. That's a tough, young group they have.
It is. And, you know, I think he's talked about their challenge. I mean, they don't go into the portal. They develop through the high school ranks.
Yes.
They've always done that. So they're playing a lot of younger guys right now. And you just know as this season goes on, those guys are going to get better and better. So now those guys are 6 games in. At some point, they're going to start to turn the corner. And so that's what you worry about.
Defensively, they're about 50 yards per game better against the run than they were a year ago. And I thought, especially in watching the Syracuse game, their front four looks like it can present some problems, especially their edge guys.
They do. And their scheme's uniquely designed to always have an extra hat +1 on their side to stop the run. You know, until the Notre Dame game, they were second in our league, giving up like 86 rushing yards a game. Notre Dame late in the game hit some runs on them that kind of skewed those numbers, but they've gotten better against the run. They know if they can stop the run and make somebody one-dimensional, they got a better chance of getting off the field, and I think that's why you see teams aren't scoring gobs of points on them week in, week out, and that gives them a chance to stay in the game.
It's only the second all-time meeting, and we owe them one, Rhett.
We do?
That 1936 Rose Bowl, a 7-0 loss out there.
I forgot what happened in 1936, but so we played them in the Rose Bowl.
That's it.
In 1936.
Yep. At
All
the
right.
end of the 35 season. By the way, our travel is a little bit better, I think, this week. It's a long trip,
It is.
but that was a train ride in 1936.
Was it?
Well, I mean,
Train ride. Did you hear that?
you think you're riding a bus across West Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona back then?
How long was the train ride? Like, when did they leave?
I don't know. I don't know how long.
Our equipment truck left today. It's a 27-hour drive.
Okay.
On Wednesday, our equipment truck left so we can play games Saturday night.
The story I read was there were 4 charter trains because about 4,000 fans and students went out there, too, for that Rose Bowl.
Wow. Well, I know this. You know, when you're playing good football, you want to keep playing, and we were playing good, so you worry a little bit about if you lose some momentum from that. But, you know, we'd had 3 physical games, so we had some guys that were banged up. I mean, you could tell Brashard wasn't full speed in that last game, and some others, and LJ's now back. And so the week helped us rest up. Our guys are excited to play somebody. It does feel like it's been a long time since we played. And I know we'll be excited because I know we're going to have a lot of fans traveling out to California.
Mm-hmm.
You know, first year in the league, Stanford, traditionally a historic place. I know we're going to have a great contingency of SMU fans there, and we're going to be excited to play in front of them.
Yeah, a good showing a couple weeks ago in Louisville, too.
Absolutely. Now, there's nothing better than celebrating with your fans after the game on the road.
Yes.
And our players were doing that, and that was really cool.
All right, it's this Saturday night, 7 o'clock, SMU at Stanford. Again, ACC Network for television, radio-wise, 96.7 and 1310 The Ticket, as well as Sirius XM 193. And 6:30 is our pregame show on the radio broadcast. Coach, appreciate it. Can't wait for
Appreciate you.
Saturday.
I think, have you had enough, babe?
Rowan's had enough? All right.
Appreciate your help.
All right. Thanks a lot, Rowan. Thank you, Coach. Thanks, everybody here. We'll see you next Wednesday night for the next edition of the Pony Express Show with Rhett Lashley.
The Pony Express Show with head coach Rhett Lashley has been presented by SMU Cox School of Business, your ally for life, and hosted at Ozona Grill and Bar on Greenville Avenue. Find your comfort zone. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Mustang Sports Network.